Hey there, it's Witness back with the last of the Guardians, the Hydra. And for added fun, instead of the usual added monster life that I did on the other boss fights, I did something really stupid for this run. I gave the boss 4 extra projectiles. As usual, this is a guide for the Guardian encounter using my Pathfinder explosive arrow build. I'll be going through the boss mechanics and giving general tips for the fight. This character is still unchanged from the previous videos and all that spiel that I've been giving throughout all these. The map mods are 4 projectiles chain and 4 extra projectiles, though I don't think any of his projectiles actually chain from what I could tell. The damage is obviously cold. I would not do this boss with extra projectiles on hardcore. So let's get on with it. As usual, the boss is on the opposite side of the arena. Unlike the other guardians, this is a ranged boss and will not attempt to close distance on you. You should attempt to close distance on this boss, however, and we'll get to that in a minute. His main 3 attacks are a barrage that fires in a small line in front of him, a blast rain that goes forwards as opposed to just sticking into one area, and the big one, the charge attack that forks around. As you can tell, adding multiple projectiles make this really annoying to avoid if you're not prepared. So sticking to his sides and to his backs is one of the safest things you can do. His attacks will hit pretty hard, but they also have a long animation time, and that will give you a lot of window to move and attack. About every 15 seconds, this boss will blink out and will start raining his minions down onto the field. Where they land will damage you if you stand there. These will give you flash charges, but will also leave vortexes on the ground that will give you a damage over time, that will hit you initially for some damage, and will chill you. I'm a Pathfinder with Master Alchemist, so the chill doesn't actually do anything to me, but the dot and the initial damage from killing them will hurt. So be careful with vulnerability on this map. He disappears for about 5 seconds to summon the ads and then comes back. He doesn't come back to the location where he disappeared from, so you have to keep an eye out to where he came back to. Now, the biggest concern in this fight, aside from avoiding his giant charge shot that does huge damage, is the frostbolts coming from the sides. They do a big chunk of damage, and you should go out of your way to avoid them. The trick to this fight is to keep the Hydra in sight while also avoiding these frostbolts. It starts out pretty manageable at the beginning, but more appear as the fight goes on. Using Decoy Totem is helpful, though timing the summoning with the frostbolts is going to be tricky. Be sure not to be caught mid-animation by the attacks. As far as flasks go, you'll need to get used to the rotation of 15 seconds to get to the minions and 5 seconds for him to come back. He doesn't appear exactly where he blinks, so you have to make sure you don't get caught the way I did in this fight. As you can tell, at first in this fight, I was taking heavy damage because I wasn't too preoccupied with dodging the frostbolts, and I was more concerned with the Hydra itself. Later on, you see me dodging the frostbolts, and it becomes more manageable. Since this was the first time I was doing this fight, I was more reactive than proactive, which made the fight harder than it needed to be. The fight doesn't need much more explanation after this. As far as I can tell, there aren't any buffs or phase mechanics to worry about. It's just a lot of dodging and figuring out when to attack. This was the last video on the Guardian fights on this build. I do have the keys to the Shaper now. I will try this fight later on, but the thing is, I play the Hardcore Temp League for most of my playing time. So gearing up for this fight and practicing it is extremely costly for me without having standard currency, and I don't have the time to really practice it. This build is capable of beating the Shaper, and one of the players on my forum guide said so and did it in the Essence League. And there is a build similar to what I have with better gear on standard that's done the fight. It's not a face roll fight, you'll have to play the mechanics, and it will require a lot of dodging, but it can do it. But in any case, I hope I've helped you out learning the mechanics of the Guardians. Also, sorry this is missing a hilarious joke about the ads like all my other videos. I know that's what you guys came to expect and came to watch my videos for. In any case, good luck out there.